Hi guys, welcome back to Ball Sense, and this is a segment that I'm going to call it Scout Watch. In this segment, we'll be talking about a particular game and the best players from that game, and who were the most eye-catching players, and if those players are linked with transfers, or if those players are generally should have been scouted who had a good game. Obviously, in today's game, I'm going to talk about the Champions League game last night, which was Porto versus Roma at the Dragao in Portugal. Um, and let's get straight into it. Porto won the game. They're through to the next round. For me, five players were really caught my eye. Let's start off with none other than the match winner, one goal, one assist, Musa Marega, striker, Mali international, 27 years old. All in all, just had a great game. Big striker, physically, he's a beast, and he has the pace as well. He's a good finisher, can link up play very well, has a good touch. He's been linked with West Ham, and all in all, he was just a top player on the night for Porto, and he was the match winner for them. Got a match rating of 9, and he was just a force to be reckoned. And he also managed to break a record and become only the second African player to score in 6 consecutive games. So he joins an illustrious list there. With some of the others that are the European ones include Ronaldo, Van Nistelrooy, Burak Yilmaz. So there are a couple of players there, but the only other African on the list, surprisingly, is Marwan Shamak, back in his Bordeaux and Arsenal days. Um, yeah, and followed closely after that was was a Mexican player for Porto, Hector Herrera. Now this man is just a beast. He's an engine. He's technical. He gets up and down, and Hector Herrera, the experience that he has, he's been around for a while. Well-known player. He plays for the Mexican national team. Played World Cups. He's just a top player. This guy can control the midfield. He's just such a good player. Such a good player to watch. And Hector Herrera, he's been linked with Arsenal, AC Milan. Wherever he goes, he will just do perfectly fine. He's a top player, Hector Herrera. His Mexican teammate as well, who was got a rating of 8 and who was brilliant on the night, was Jesus Corona, Tecatito, also his nickname. And he's 26 years old, rejuvenating himself, coming back to the form that people expect of him. Had a little bit of a bad patch, but last night's game, he was an absolute beast. He just ran down the flanks, his dribbling, his speed caused all sorts of problems, and he had one assist, and he was just a top player on the night. Jesus Corona, if you just watched him last night, this guy was really had a special game, and I'm sure there were scouts at the game that would have watched it and said, he's got something in there. 26 years old, still yet to reach his prime. A lot could go there. Now let's go to the next guy. Our next man is the man that scored the winning goal, Alex Telles. 26 years old, Brazilian. He's a left back, also takes set pieces. Now this Alex Telles, he's a well-known player in Porto, and for me, you can easily put him in the bracket of some of the best upcoming left backs. If I were to pick out 6 left backs who I really think are top of the notch and coming up, I would definitely put in Tagliafico of Ajax, Alex Telles of Porto, obviously, um, Alex Grimaldo of Benfica, who I think is another top player, another set piece specialist. Kieran Tierney, Celtic. Now that's another player. And Ben Chilwell, obviously, of Leicester City. These are the 5 players for me as a left back who I could say are really probably going to end up at top clubs. They are already, some of them at top clubs, but they're probably going to go one step further, and maybe at least I expect one of them to maybe take over from Jordi Alba. So in the future, maybe reach those heights, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and all that. Another player who is, well, he's a player that people expect a lot of, but unfortunately he didn't have his best game, and I'd like to pick him out. It's Eder Militao. He's a Brazilian center back. He's 20 to 22 years old, somewhere around that. Didn't have the best of games, conceded a penalty, caught out of position a few times. He was also played out of position, so maybe you could just give him that one. He's usually a center back, and he was played at right back, so maybe you can cut him some slack over there, and maybe not really judge him too much. Although it's fair to say that he didn't have the best of games, got a rating of 5. Another player who did not play the full game, just played the extra time bit, was Yassin Brahimi, Algerian international. Again, top player, linked with Leicester City, linked with some clubs, Everton as well in the Premier League. And he's 29 years old. If he needs to move, it's now or never. He's a top player on the ball, his interchanging, his ball control, his link up to play quick 1-2s and receive it in scoring positions. He's calm. He does not rush. He plays what he sees. And all in all, he's a top player. I think if he were to move, he would succeed in any of the clubs in the Serie A or La Liga or even the Premier League. Now, going to Roma, Roma, obviously they lost, so the team did not play too well. But I always like to judge players away from home. I think if you play, even if you lose, even if your team's losing, if you play well away from home individually, it gives the scouts and gives people watching a good idea of your personality, your mentality, and how you can play away from home says a lot about you as a player. For me, in Roma, I'm gonna pick two straight away and go into a little more detail. The first one I gotta pick was Karsdorp, Rick Karsdorp. He's a right back, former Feyenoord player, Dutch player. Really was a top player for them. It was unfortunate for him to be on the losing side, to be honest, because I think he was their second best player after De Rossi. Um, and he's also just 24 years old, and he's a right back. And I think, you know, he has a big future ahead of him. He needs to keep consistent and keep improving. There's a top player there. I always rated him, even at Feyenoord. He, unfortunately, his progress has slowed down a little bit, but it was great to see him firing last night. And obviously, this one's been all over the media. Nicolo Zaniolo, Italian international, 19-year-old, and he's just a top player. When you look at him, you see his forward passing, brilliant, touches, brilliant, left-footed, highly technical player. But he also has the physical attributes. He has the height, he can win headers, and he has the movement and the balance to get out of tricky situations and resist tackles. For me, what I like about him, young player, takes the initiative, plays forward, likes to make things happen, and that's a great quality. And he scored 2 goals in the first leg. Unfortunately, couldn't repeat the trick, but he's just obviously a great prospect, and I'm sure he's going to make it to some of the biggest clubs in the world. Only 19, future Italian international for sure. He's going to do well for Italy, I feel, and the boy has big potential. Roma were lucky because they got him in the deal for 9 Golan from Inter Milan. I think they sold 9 Golan for, it was about 25-30 million, as well as Zaniolo. So if you're the Roma sporting director there, I think that's a great job. Monkey, really will be happy with that. And the Roma board as well, Francesco Totti and all the others, that's a great deal for them, getting rid of Nan Golan and getting a player like Zaniolo, but also getting money for the deal. But yeah, Zaniolo is the future. And another player who did not play the whole game, just came on for a bit of the extra time, was Patrick Schick. I think he's an all-round striker, pace, finishing, can dribble a little bit. His link-up play is very good. Sometimes he takes too many touches, but he's recovering. He's 23 years old, Czech Republic international, and he's gone through a tough time. They had to get in a psychologist for him and try to get him back. He was having some mental issues, struggling and settling down in Roma, and at one point he was compared as the next Ibrahimovic by Nedved, who was the Juventus technical director. And I think he has big potential. I think he played well, came on. Could have won a penalty. VAR decision didn't go his way. It wasn't a penalty, but could have. He was creating things, and he was a good threat. I think Patrick Schick is also one to watch for the future. So that's it from me. I'm going to be doing a Europa League review, and where I'm going to talk about the scores and how well did the teams do. It's the round of 16 of the Europa League tonight, so that will be out tomorrow. Stay tuned for the review, Europa League review. And also, this is going to be a regular segment, Scout Watch. So if you have games that you'd like me to look at for any league, Champions League, Serie A, leagues in Europe, Premier League, La Liga, even out of Europe, the Copa Libertadores, you have some other teams, African, AFCON, CONCACAF. Do let me know, and we can pick out some of the best players. The international break as well, international in-game, who plays well, who doesn't, and a scout watch in general, bringing you details of the players and linked with your club, as well as players that could be good for the future. So comment below if you want to see any particular game on featuring on the Scout Watch, and stay tuned for the Europa League. Thank you.